A man who doesn't know how to use words ends up using himself as emotional charity. Because in a woman's mind, language isn't communication, it's chemistry, it's control, it's desire. And if you don't learn to activate those codes with surgical precision, someone else will. Not someone better than you, just someone more awake. Someone who knows that the right words, said at the exact right moment, don't just open legs, they open the soul. Today I'm going to reveal the 7 phrases you won't find in books, or courses, or pickup forums. 7 keys that unlock the wildest part of a woman, even when she thinks she's in control. And the last one is the most dangerous. Because once you use it, there's no turning back. I'm Celia, and I'm not here to help you get dates. I'm here to awaken the power she doesn't want you to discover. Stay until the end, because after hearing me, you'll stop being the one who chases, and you'll start being the one who stays. Have you ever felt like your presence wasn't enough? Like your energy was invisible to the woman you want the most? She looks at you, she responds, even smiles, but she doesn't give in. She doesn't open up. She doesn't vibe with you. And without realizing it, you start lowering yourself, explaining, pleasing, trying, like you're the one who needs to be chosen. You don't say it out loud, but deep down, you're begging. See me, value me, stay. And in that moment, brother, you've already lost. You're at the first point of this video, and I won't sugarcoat it. And who protects you from yourself? This isn't a flirtatious line. It's a declaration of psychological war. Because when you say that to a woman with a calm voice, a steady gaze, and the energy of someone who needs nothing, what you awaken in her isn't tenderness. It's submission. The good kind. The erotic, the primal, the kind that surfaces when a woman finds herself face to face with a man who's not trying to protect her, but to contain her. Let me explain it with a scene. Private session a few years ago. A 47-year-old woman, elegant, educated, with a seemingly perfect life. We were talking about her emotional affair with a younger man. She said she didn't know why she wanted him so badly, that he wasn't more handsome or more successful than her husband. He makes me feel small, vulnerable, and I don't understand why that turns me on so much. That's the key. Because this man, without raising his voice, without making promises, without even showing obsessive interest, one day said that phrase, "And who protects you from yourself?" And she fell. Not because he was special, but because he knew how to press the one button no one else dared to touch. A woman doesn't want to be saved. She wants to be emotionally dominated by someone who isn't afraid of her chaos. And when you use that phrase, at the right moment, with the right energy, you're telling her, "Your madness doesn't scare me. I won't fold under your hysteria. And if you decide to stay with me, you'd better have the strength to handle what we're about to awaken." That tension, that subtle threat, that power without violence, it pulls her in. It's not about shouting, it's about knowing how to look, about not reacting to her drama, about staying centered while she expects you to be just another guy who crumbles at her beauty. Because when a woman senses that you're not going to protect her from the world, but from her own internal overflow, she stops seeing you as an option. She starts seeing you as a need. It's not magic, it's pure psychology. And if you don't learn how to step into that archetype of a man who doesn't kneel, doesn't explain himself, doesn't apologize for being dominant, you'll keep being the dependable friend, the forgettable ex, the dull husband she loves very much, but no longer desires. So the next time a woman tries to pull you into the emotional battlefield, the chaos, the drama, don't argue, don't explain, just look at her and say it calmly. And who protects you from yourself? Then stay silent, because if you say it right, you won't need to say anything else. When a woman hears a phrase like, "And who protects you from yourself?" she doesn't just feel there's a man standing in front of her. She feels a presence that transcends her, a boundary, a structure, something she can't bend to her will. And that, even if she doesn't say it, turns her on. But there's a truth that comes right after, and you need to understand it if you don't want to lose the power you just awakened. We've reached the second key point of this video. I didn't come to please you, I came to leave a mark. This isn't a line to throw around. It's a statement that redefines the entire game of roles. because most men today show up as applicants for female desire. They line up, smile, adapt, try hard, all to please a woman who, deep down, doesn't even respect them. And when you do that, when you present yourself as the man who just wants to be liked, you lose the one thing she truly wants to feel: impact. I'm telling you this from real psychology, not romantic fantasy. A woman can live with someone she likes, someone who makes her laugh, who's nice. But that doesn't make her vibrate. It doesn't leave a mark. Because for a man to leave a lasting impression on her body and mind, he doesn't need to be liked. He needs to surpass her. Show her that her validation isn't necessary, that you're already complete, solid, and grounded, with or without her. That's the difference between the attractive man and the unforgettable one. Remember what the Stoics taught. Don't live for the approval of others, because he who depends on applause will be a slave to silence. And if you live waiting for her to accept you, to say, "I like you," to choose you sweetly, you're acting like a wounded boy, not a whole man. But when you say, "I didn't come to please you, I came to leave a mark," you're showing that you don't care about her approval, her compliments, or her smiles. You care about being remembered, about being associated with a before and after, because you're not decorative, you're decisive. A woman can forget the nice guy. She can replace the one who was attentive. She can laugh at the one who was romantic, but she'll never forget the one who shook her emotionally, the one who didn't adapt to her games but brought his own, the one who didn't come to please, came to mark. And here's the most powerful part. When a man stands in that energy, he stops being prey and becomes the stimulus. He's no longer the one who wants her. She becomes the one trying to figure him out, trying to decode what it is about this man who doesn't need to impress her, yet she can't stop thinking about him. So I'll tell you this. Don't smile just to be liked. Don't respond gently when you know she's testing your limits. Don't be the charming candidate. Be the trigger, the challenge, the man who didn't come to meet her expectations, but to leave a mark no future comparison can erase. If you can do that, if you embody that phrase with your presence, your stillness, your gaze, then she won't see you as an option. She'll see you as fate. And that, my dear, is where true masculine power begins. Not when you're liked, but when you leave a mark. When a man stops trying to be liked and starts making his mark, something gets triggered in a woman, a mix of alertness and attraction she can't control. But be careful, because that energy, if not held firmly, fades fast. And this is where most men fail. They create that initial impact, but then crumble at the first sign of emotional tension. She tests, provokes, raises her tone, and instead of standing firm, he backs down, apologizes, explains himself. He loses. Because female desire isn't maintained through sweetness, it's maintained through hierarchy. We've reached the third key point of this video, and this is where everything starts to shift. Don't talk to me like that, unless you can back it up. This phrase isn't meant to be shouted. It's meant to be looked into her eyes, spoken in a low voice, but with internal power. It's a strategy that instantly places you on a higher plane, because what you're really saying is, "You don't intimidate me." You're returning the control without stepping into the fight. You're showing her that her dramatics have no effect on you unless she's capable of owning them with coherence. Psychologically, what happens in that moment is intense. The woman feels like, for the first time, someone is holding up a mirror. She can't manipulate you with her usual emotional tactics. You're not there to soothe her, to understand her, to calm her down. You're there to observe. And when a man observes with clarity, with tense silence, with a steady gaze, he disarms even the most controlling woman without ever raising his voice. Picture a simple example. You're with her, and suddenly she throws out a provocative comment, maybe blames you for something, maybe subtly ridicules you. Most guys would jump into a debate. You don't. You look at her, you breathe, and you say, without raising your voice, "Don't talk to me like that unless you can back it up." And then you stay there. You don't move. You don't smile. You don't explain. You just hold your presence. What happens? She steps back. Not because she feels attacked, but because she feels seen. And nothing disarms a woman who's playing the power game more than meeting a man who doesn't need to defeat her to dominate her. This isn't theory, this is practical psychology. Women don't remember the man who always agreed with them. They remember the one who didn't bend, the one who didn't flinch when they turned up the heat. Because true respect doesn't come from understanding, it comes from setting a boundary. So burn this into your mind. You don't have to be rude, you have to be clear. And that clarity can be delivered with a single, well-timed phrase. Don't talk to me like that unless you can back it up. It's not a challenge, it's a warning. And whether they admit it or not, they appreciate it. Before we move on, if this content is stirring something in you, hit subscribe and give it a like. You're not here by accident. You're here because you're ready to stop being that agreeable man. Drop a comment with the country you're watching from and write just one phrase: I don't give up my power. Because there are still 4 key phrases to come, and the last one doesn't just attract her, it leaves a permanent mark. After you set clear boundaries and reflect her image back to her, the game changes. She no longer sees you as a man who adapts, but as one who imposes himself through presence. But this is where many get it wrong. They think they've already won, that respect is guaranteed, that she's already chosen them. And then they fall right back into the trap. They start seeking validation. They crave approval. They get excited over her attention. It's a silent return to emotional submission. And that's where everything falls apart. We've reached the 4th key point of this video. I'm not interested in you. I'm interested in what you awaken in me. This phrase is the perfect antidote to the most common mental trap, believing a woman should be the center of your desire, that everything revolves around her, that if she responds well, you feel good, and if she pulls away, you feel empty. That subtle emotional dependency, even if you don't admit it, makes you predictable, weak, and easy to manipulate. The problem is, this mistake doesn't show up right away. It sneaks in as a kind gesture. I'm doing this for her. I want her to feel special. I want to show her I care. And it's not wrong to care. What's destructive is when you give yourself so completely to who she is that you forget who you are. When you stop thinking about what you ignite and focus only on how to please her. And that mindset, though it may seem generous, is a sentence of emotional emasculation. Because if you focus on her as the objective, you become a clumsy hunter. One who chases his prey instead of attracting it. One who begs for a place instead of being the place. And that dynamic, once it's in place, drags you into a loop of anxiety, dependence, and constant frustration. You wait for texts, you overanalyze her gestures, you doubt yourself every time she seems distant, and worst of all, you blame yourself for not getting more of a reaction. But when you say calmly, with inner peace, I'm not interested in you, I'm interested in what you awaken in me, you break that pattern. You show that you're not hooked on her image, her body, or her presence, but on the sensation you generate in yourself when you're with her. You make it clear that you are the center of desire, that she's a channel, not an idol, and that throws her off, but it also draws her in. Because women, even if they never say it, get tired of being the center, of having to carry the attention of men who worship them endlessly. Deep down, they're looking for a man who doesn't idolize them, but penetrates them, who doesn't get lost in their gaze, but makes them tremble with his. And that only happens when you don't sell yourself as an admirer, but as a trigger, a force, a masculine presence that doesn't beg for a place, because he already stands firmly in himself. So be careful with that mistake disguised as devotion. Don't put a woman on the pedestal of your desire. Don't turn her into your goal, because the moment you do, she'll see you like all the others. But if you stay grounded, if you recognize that what interests you isn't her, but the version of yourself that ignites in her presence, then you're no longer a suitor. You're a stimulus, and that, my dear, no woman ever forgets. When you understand that she isn't the center, just a mirror of what you project, you begin to regain ground. But there's still one obstacle that brings down even the most self-aware men: self-deception. That moment when you tell yourself everything's fine, that you're acting from strength, that you're in control, while deep down, you're still that teenager who gets caught up in every gesture, every vague phrase. That's the kind of poison that strips away your respect the most. And the worst part, you're the one drinking it. We're at the 5th point of this video, and it's this: you're into me, and that bothers you. This phrase is an uncomfortable mirror, because it reveals a silent dynamic most men don't dare to name: the woman who feels attracted, but resists it. The woman who vibes with you, but lashes out. The woman who gets turned on, but humiliates you. Why? Because she can't stand the feeling of losing control. Because she can't accept that you, without begging, without chasing, without kneeling, are triggering something in her that even she can't explain. And if you don't see it, if you don't call it out, you fall into the trap. You start doubting yourself, wondering if you're doing something wrong, thinking maybe you're too intense, too cold, too direct. So you start changing how you speak, you tone down your energy, you become softer, more predictable, just so you don't make her uncomfortable. And that's when your fall begins. Because you adapt, you tame yourself, you become neutral, all to avoid unsettling a woman who, deep down, doesn't want to be calmed. She wants to be held. The phrase, "you're into me, and that bothers you," isn't a complaint. It's a revelation. You're showing her that you're not going to ask permission to provoke her, that you won't apologize for making an impact, that you're not going to adjust to her emotional comfort zone. And while that may throw her off at first, it forces her to confront her own desire, because you're telling her, without saying it, "I know what I'm awakening in you, and I'm not afraid of it." That level of awareness, that calm clarity with no arrogance, no drama, no need for explanation, makes you something rare, something she can't control. And for that reason, she can't let go. But if you don't have that mindset, if you don't carry that steady gaze that doesn't need to raise its voice to be respected, you become exactly what she wants to fix. The nice, sweet, gentle guy who she likes but doesn't crave. And then you live in the worst place possible, emotional limbo, that space where she accepts you but doesn't want you, includes you but doesn't choose you, and you, confused, just keep waiting, like a dog that used to be a wolf. Breaking this pattern isn't a technique, it's a decision. It's looking in the mirror and saying, "I won't shrink myself to soothe a woman who can't handle what I awaken." It's walking firmly, even when she resists, even when she pulls away, because sometimes respect begins when you dare to be uncomfortable, when you don't soften your energy to fit in, but hold your ground until she decides whether she can handle it or not. And if she can't, that's fine, let her go, because a man who folds to be liked ends up invisible, but a man who stands firm leaves a mark, and what leaves a mark never gets forgotten. When you stop softening yourself to fit in and start holding your energy without fear of making her uncomfortable, something shifts in the emotional dynamic. She can no longer manipulate you. She can't use distance as punishment, because you're not there to be accepted, you're there to be respected. But that respect, if not backed by solid inner structure, can vanish in an instant. All it takes is one doubt, one misplaced touch, one sweet-sounding word laced with hidden intention, and you're back to square one. That's why what comes next isn't just a phrase, it's a filter, a threshold that separates the man who wants attention from the man who demands real connection. We're now at the 6th point of this video. I don't desire you yet. I want to see if you deserve it. Close your eyes for a second and picture this. You're standing in front of an attractive, intense woman, one who's used to having men fall at her feet. She smiles, she flirts with gestures, she hints, but you don't react like the rest. You don't jump in, you don't compliment her looks, you don't rush to touch her. You smile calmly, and you drop this line. In that moment, something inside her jolts, because for the first time, she's not in control. Now she has to prove herself worthy of your desire, and that turns her on like nothing else. A woman's mind doesn't fall for the man who gives himself away unconditionally. It falls for the man who evaluates in silence, who doesn't need her body to feel validated, who looks at her with restrained desire, not desperate hunger. Because restrained desire doesn't kill attraction, it fuels it. And when that tension is held firmly, it becomes obsession. Because you're not rejecting her. You're showing her that your desire has value, that it's not given away easily, that it's not handed out for a pretty smile or a low-cut dress. You reserve it, you protect it, you dignify it. You know what happens when you don't do this? You become just another guy. The one who, just to touch her, forgets to really see her. The one who, in the rush to get into bed with her, ends up sleeping on his own self-worth. And when that happens, he loses more than her respect. He loses the mystery. He loses the tension. And without tension, there's no attraction, only routine, only use, only emptiness. A woman can sleep with whoever she wants, but to leave a mark on her, that takes a man who doesn't idolize her, who doesn't rush, who doesn't beg, who stands his ground and says, "If you're not sparking enough for me to want you with every inch of my body, then you're not ready for me." That's not arrogance. That's standards. That's emotional hierarchy. That's what separates a man who begs from a man who chooses. And this is where many fall, because they think if they don't act fast, they'll lose her. They don't realize that what comes quickly also goes away without a second thought. But what takes time, what builds tension, what filters through, becomes addictive, because a woman who feels she has to earn your desire will do whatever it takes to stay in your story. And in that exact moment, she stops playing and starts surrendering. So next time you feel the urge to rush in, pause, look at her, and say with calm, "I don't desire you yet. I want to see if you deserve it." Then watch, because her reaction will tell you whether you're facing a woman seeking attention or a woman capable of desiring with depth. And that, brother, changes everything. When a woman senses that your desire holds value, her energy shifts. She becomes more careful, more observant, more invested, because she knows she's dealing with a man who doesn't give himself away easily. But this isn't just about holding back desire. It's about what comes after. What happens when you finally cross that threshold? Because if you don't close with strength what you opened with tension, it all fades. All the authority you built through your gaze, your silence, your boundaries, crumbles if you don't leave a final mark. One that doesn't fade, one she can't ignore even if she walks away. We've reached the 7th point of this video. If you touch me, you won't be able to forget me. This isn't a cliche. It's not cheap poetry. It's a seal, a statement, an emotional warning that, when delivered with the right energy, stays in her mind like an invisible tattoo. Because you're not talking about technique. You're talking about presence, about impact, about that masculine force that doesn't need volume, only direction. Think about it. How many times have you been with a woman and she forgot you within a week? How many times have you heard, "It was nice, it was fine, but it wasn't that special"? You know why? Because you didn't leave a mark. Because you showed up from need, not from power. Because you touched her body, but not her soul. Because you gave it all away, without making her earn it. And no matter how much physical contact there was, none of it stuck. But when you say to her, before touching her, with that mix of calm and danger, "If you touch me, you won't be able to forget me," you're activating her emotional memory. You're telling her this won't just be another experience, that you're not just another man, that what's about to happen, if it happens, won't be casual, it'll be transformational. And that kind of promise, when it's real, doesn't need to be proven. It's felt, it's sensed, it's in every gesture, in every breath. A woman can resist desire, but she can't resist emotional impact. And that's what you need to learn to create. Not from a persona, not from acting, not from a textbook alpha, but from your truth. From that energy that doesn't shrink, doesn't explain itself, doesn't adjust. It just expresses, it just shows up, it just leaves a mark. And this is where you have to decide who you're going to be from now on. Because if after everything I've shown you, you're still the man who begs, who explains, who adapts, then it's not a lack of knowledge, it's a lack of courage. Because now you know, you've seen the map, you've learned the phrases, you understand the psychology behind female desire. There are no more excuses, only a choice. So look at yourself in the mirror and ask honestly, do I want to keep being the one who waits, or the one who leaves a mark? Because if you choose to mark, then the next time a woman crosses that line with you, you won't ask for permission. You'll say with a steady voice and a clear gaze, if you touch me, you won't be able to forget me. And you'll mean it, because the men who leave a mark don't need to stay to still be present. If you've made it this far, you're not like the rest. Most people click away the moment the truth starts to sting, because hearing that your desire has been misdirected, that the way you approach women makes you invisible, it's not easy, but you stayed. You listened all the way through. And that already says something about who you are, or at least who you're becoming. Today I shared 7 phrases that don't just seduce, they leave a mark. Phrases that aren't meant to make you liked, but to ignite something no smile ever could. Knowing them isn't enough. You have to embody them. You have to speak them with the energy of a man who no longer kneels emotionally before anyone. Because if after watching this, you choose to go back to being the one who begs, who folds, who adjusts, it's no longer ignorance. It's a choice. Drop a comment now and tell me what country you're watching from, because it doesn't matter the culture, the age, the story. When a man awakens, the world realigns. I'm Celia, psychologist, therapist, woman, and this is your House of Wisdom. This channel doesn't exist to entertain you or to tell you what you want to hear. It exists to give back the respect you lost the moment you stopped being yourself, to remind you that feminine desire isn't one with flowers, but with presence, with boundaries, with emotional strength. And if you're ready to live that way, then you're no longer alone. Subscribe now. Not like someone collecting channels, but like someone stepping into a community of men who've chosen to wake up. Share this video with that friend who still thinks being nice is enough, who keeps giving up his power just to avoid discomfort. Maybe today you woke up. Maybe he just needs to hear this. And don't go just yet. This isn't the end of the conversation. 2 videos are about to appear on your screen. Choose the one that makes you the most uncomfortable. Because right there, in what you don't want to see, is exactly what you need to hear.